I'm Anderson, day 31 of 100 Days of Thankfulness. Today we're talking about the importance of sharing our experiences, and also I want to talk about why I'm so thankful for Pastor Todd Burpo, who's the author of Heaven is for Real. A while ago I shared with you about the importance of miracles, and I explained why I was actually doing this video series. Was really the main motivation was I wanted people to know the truth about what experiences I had in 1993 when I had those 12 miracles. But it's not like I was keeping it completely secret. After I experienced those miracles, whenever anyone asked me to share my testimony, I would give a big, lengthy explanation, kind of dominate the conversation, where I would just explain everything that happened to me in 1993. I think people were very gracious in giving me the time to actually explain it. But it was never what people were expecting, especially if you were going around the room and you were sharing your testimony. It was maybe a little inappropriate of me to take so much time, and I realized that. And so later on I decided, maybe what I want to do is I just want to write down my testimony, get it in written form, so that if anyone ever really wants to know the details, I can just say to them, yeah, I experienced all these miracles in 1993, kind of leave it at that, and then say, if you want to know more, here I wrote out my testimony. So I did, and it was several pages long. And someone once said to me, you want the testimony to just be a page or two. And so I tried to do that, and as I was trying to make it shorter, what I was finding is it was actually becoming longer, because there were all these other things that I wanted to add to it. And so I just gave up on the whole thing, and I just decided, well, I'm going to maybe write a little booklet. And then after it became over 100 pages, and I still had so much more I wanted to say, it was like, okay, maybe I'll turn this into a book. And that's kind of what's been going on for the last 22 years, is I've been working on this kind of labor of love, but it's been quite a lot. It's been a lot of effort, because I find that even after I think I'm done with a page or done with a chapter, I keep going back and rereading, and then realizing, I'm coming across a little too prideful here, and that's not how I want to come across, and I kept revising and editing, and it got to a point where I was sort of going nuts with it. So I'm enjoying the videos a lot more, because once it's out, and I don't have to go back and change anything. In fact, when I first had the idea that maybe I'll do some videos to describe my experiences, I mentioned that to Karen, and her immediate response was, thanks for doing that, that'll give me something to play at your funeral. I know she was joking, but really that's at the heart of really why I wanted to do this in the first place. Is even when I'm not around anymore, I want my kids to have this record of this is what Dad believed in. This is what happened to Dad, first of all. This is what God did in Dad's life, and then this is how Dad lived his life. I want them to know that. I don't want them to ever forget that. And that's really it. That it's not like I'm trying to start a new ministry or anything like that at all with this video series, or even to get a huge following or anything like that. It's just as simple as I want my immediate friends and family to just know the truth about what happened to me, and just how amazing God is to do that for me in this particular way. And so that's kind of my motivation. When we look at Pastor Todd Burpo, his motivation for writing the book was similar. It was his son Colton, who was having his appendix removed, and it was kind of an emergency situation. So there, it wasn't just like a routine of removing an appendix surgery. It was, his appendix had burst, and so there was, kind of this time element there where he could actually die. Now, from what I understand, Colton didn't actually die, yet he had this experience where he met Jesus in heaven. And so I don't really understand that, but I believe it's true. I believe what they wrote in the book actually happened. And so, you look at what's his motivation for writing the book. I know he's received a lot of criticism for, being a pastor. Maybe he's just making up this story so that he can make more money at his church, or make a bunch of money by making this book. But I don't think that's it at all. But that being said, I think it's important to question people's motivation, just like we should question the motivation of the disciples for, what they, what's written about them in the New Testament. They were actually tortured to death because they refused to deny Jesus, because they refused to deny the miracles that they witnessed. All they had to do to avoid being tortured to death was to admit that it was all a lie, yet they died because of that. And so if that was a lie, then, why die for a lie? It makes sense if it was true that they would die for it, but it doesn't make sense that they would die for it if it was a lie. And so, I just want to thank Todd Burpo, because I know when he was writing the book that he probably had a lot of these concerns about, receiving criticism from certain people. And so there was probably a side of him as he wrote the book that was thinking, and wondering, is this the right thing to do? Do I share these experiences? And I just think the answer is always yes, right? If this really happened, if this is really what you experienced, for the rest of the world to know the truth, we need to know about those experiences. And similarly, for those people out there that are maybe trying to make up stories or whatnot, don't do that, right? Share your honest experiences, and don't hold back, and don't worry about the criticism you'll receive, because in the end, what really matters is that people know the truth about these things. So thanks once again to Pastor Todd Burpo.